It was supposed to be a normal flight from Dallas to New York, a calm evening journey with 201 passengers on board. Pembleys, businessmen and tourists all settled comfortably as Flight 228 climbed through the glowing skies of sunset. Among the passengers sat 11-year-old Lily Parker, a quiet yet curious girl traveling with her mother. She loved airplanes, not just watching them but understanding them. Her father, Captain Daniel Parker, was an Air Force pilot who used to show her flight simulators at home, explaining how the controls worked and how a plane could dance through the air. As Flight 228 reached 30,000 feet, the world outside was peaceful, golden clouds drifting across a fading orange horizon. Passengers laughed, chatted, and ordered snacks. The steady hum of the engines filled the cabin, soothing everyone into comfort. But in one instant, everything changed. Without warning, the intercom went silent. The sound of the engines dimmed strangely. A tense quietness spread through the cabin like a ripple. The cockpit door remained closed, and when the head flight attendant knocked, there was no reply. She called out again, her voice trembling slightly. "Captain, are you okay?" No response. The attendants exchanged worried looks. Something wasn't right. Then suddenly, the first officer stumbled out of the cockpit, gasping for breath, clutching his chest. His skin was pale, sweat glistening on his forehead. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Within seconds, he collapsed in the aisle. Passengers screamed. The lead attendant rushed forward, checking his pulse. "He's not breathing," she cried. The panic spread fast. Someone shouted, "What's happening?" Another passenger tried to call for help on their phone, but there was no signal. The aircraft began to tilt slightly, a slow descent beginning on its own. The crew tried to open the cockpit door, but it was locked from the inside. The pilot wasn't responding. No one knew if he was alive or not. Inside the cabin, chaos erupted. People cried, prayed, held hands. A mother hugged her children tight. A businessman whispered into his phone's recorder, leaving a goodbye message for his family. The flight attendants flipped through the emergency manual, desperately looking for a section on cockpit override procedures. But it wasn't something they were trained for. They were running out of time. The plane was losing altitude, the warning lights flashing near the cabin entrance. And then, through the noise and confusion, a small voice spoke up. I know how to fly." Everyone turned. It was Lily Parker, her face pale, but her eyes steady. She clutched her backpack, standing beside her seat. Her mother gasped, grabbing her hand. "Lily, sit down. This isn't a game." But Lily shook her head. "Mom, please. Dad taught me. I can help." The lead flight attendant froze for a moment, torn between disbelief and desperation. The plane jolted again, dipping lower. Oxygen masks shook above passengers' heads. She made a decision. "Come with me." They led Lily toward the cockpit, her small feet stumbling slightly as the plane rocked. The closer they got, the louder the warning beeps became. Altitude dropping, pressure changing, or chaos building. The flight attendant entered the emergency override code on the cockpit keypad, a risky procedure used only when both pilots were incapacitated. The red light blinked twice, then turned green. With a sharp click, the cockpit door opened. Inside was a nightmare. The captain lay slumped over the controls, unconscious. Oxygen masks dangled uselessly beside him. The panels were flashing with red and orange warnings. The plane was descending dangerously fast. The attendants checked the captain's pulse. Faint, but there. They tried to move him aside, but the seat was jammed. "Lily," one attendant said breathlessly, "can you really do this?" Lily swallowed hard. "I'll try." She climbed into the pilot's seat, the same seat she had seen her father in countless times before. Her hands were shaking, but she remembered his words. "A plane always listens if you stay calm." She gripped the yoke firmly, glancing at the dashboard. The plane was descending at 2,000 feet per minute. She gently pulled back on the yoke, just a little, trying to steady the nose. The descent slowed. The warning tone stopped. The attendants gasped softly in relief. Then Lily looked at the radio panel, rows of buttons and switches. Her father had once taught her which one connected to air traffic control. She found the mic switch, pressed it, and spoke with a trembling voice. "This is Flight 228. The pilots are down. I need help." For a moment, only static replied. Lily tried again, louder this time, fighting tears. "Please, this is Flight 228. We're losing altitude. The pilots are unconscious. Someone, please respond." A few seconds later, a calm, deep voice finally came through the static. "Flight 228, this is Atlanta Center. We hear you. Can you tell us who's speaking?" Lily took a deep breath. "My name is Lily. I'm 11 years old." There was silence. On the ground, the controllers looked at each other, stunned. An 11-year-old? But there wasn't time to question it. "Okay, Lily," the voice replied firmly. "You're doing great. Stay calm. You're flying the plane now, and we're going to help you every step of the way." In the cabin behind her, passengers sat motionless, listening to the faint sound of the radio through the open door. Some were crying silently, others praying, but every single one of them was holding on to one fragile hope. "Okay, Lily," came the calm, reassuring voice from Atlanta Center, steady like an anchor in the storm. "We're going to help you." "You're doing great. Can you see your altitude?" Lily's eyes darted across the glowing control panel, her small hands gripping the yoke tightly. Her heart was pounding so loud she could barely hear herself think. Still, she remembered her father's voice from years of simulator lessons. "Don't panic. Read the numbers. The plane listens to you if you stay calm." She looked carefully at the panel. "Yes, it says 28,000 feet. "Perfect," replied the air traffic controller. "Keep your wings level and maintain your current heading." "You're doing amazing, Lily." In the cabin behind her, 201 souls sat frozen in awe and fear. The passengers, who moments ago were praying for a miracle, were now watching one unfold right before their eyes. Some were crying softly, others clasping their hands in disbelief as the 11-year-old girl took control of the massive jet. The flight attendant stood at the doorway, watching every move she made, whispering words of encouragement. One of them, her voice cracking, murmured, "She's really doing it." Outside, the sun was sinking into the horizon, painting the clouds gold and crimson. The aircraft glided silently through the thin air, a lonely bird watched by millions of eyes below, who had no idea what was happening above their heads. On the ground, the situation had triggered a full-scale emergency response. The FAA, Air Force, and emergency services scrambled to act. Every radar screen in the region was now focused on one small dot, Flight 228. Within minutes, the U.S. Air Force had scrambled 2 F-22 Raptors from a nearby base. Their mission: locate the descending plane, assess the situation, and help guide it safely to the ground. "Lily," the voice from Atlanta Center said again, "you're not alone up there. Look out your window." Lily turned her head toward the left side of the cockpit, and her breath caught in her throat. 2 sleek grey fighter jets had appeared beside her, cutting through the clouds like silent guardians. One of the pilots raised his gloved hand and gave her a thumbs up through the glass canopy. For the first time since the chaos began, Lily smiled. Her fear began to melt away, replaced by focus. "Good job, Lily," the fighter pilot's voice echoed over the radio. "You're the captain now." The words hit her like lightning. "You're the captain now." She nodded, gripping the controls tighter. "Okay, I can do this," she whispered to herself. "All right, Lily," said Atlanta Center, keeping his tone calm and measured. "We're going to line you up for a landing at Atlanta International Airport. It's a big runway, perfect for your aircraft. We'll take it one step at a time, okay?" "Okay," she replied softly. "Good. Now reduce your speed to 180 knots and extend your flaps halfway." Her fingers trembled as she reached for the flap lever, remembering how her dad had shown her what each setting did. The engines changed pitch as the speed dropped, and the jet began to level out. "Perfect! Lily, you're doing just fine." Down below, the runway lights of Atlanta International blazed to life. 2 bright lines stretching across the darkening landscape like a shining path home. The controller's voice came again. Okay, Lily, we're on final approach. You'll see the runway ahead soon. Keep your nose slightly up, and when I say, extend the landing gear. A moment later, the bright dots of the runway came into view, shimmering through the clouds. Gear down, the controller instructed. Lily took a deep breath and reached for the gear lever, pulling it gently. A loud thud echoed beneath the plane. The landing gear was down. Inside the cabin, a wave of hope rippled through the passengers. The flight attendants exchanged tearful smiles. People began to whisper prayers of gratitude. Their eyes locked on the young girl guiding their fate. Outside, the two F-22 pilots flew alongside, one on each wing, talking her through every movement. You're doing incredible. Lily, said one of them, his voice full of warmth. You've got this. Keep her steady. Small movements, just like your dad taught you. Lily smiled faintly. I remember, she said softly, adjusting the yoke as the plane dipped slightly. The radio crackled again. Altitude's good, Lily. Now ease the nose down a bit. That's it. Good. You're lined up perfectly. Stay focused. You're about 2 miles from touchdown. The alarm suddenly blared. Too low. Terrain. Pull up. Lily's heart jumped, but the controller's calm voice guided her. Don't panic, Lily. Pull up gently, just a little. That's it. She eased the yoke back slowly, and the alarm stopped. Beautiful, said the F-22 pilot. You just saved everyone again. The ground came rushing closer. The runway lights now stretched beneath her like glowing veins in the night. Okay, Lily, the controller said softly, almost whispering. Now ease her down. Let her touch the ground gently. You can do this. Lily held her breath. The plane's wheels neared the tarmac. Then, with a rough but safe thud, the aircraft touched down. The passengers screamed, not in fear this time, but in joy and disbelief. Now brake, Lily, slowly. She pressed the pedals, feeling the plane slow, the roar of the engines fading into silence. And then, stillness. The massive jet came to a stop in the middle of the runway. For a few seconds, no one moved. The silence inside the cabin was complete until the first cheer broke out, followed by applause, then laughter and tears all at once. People hugged, cried, shouted her name. Lily! 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 Fire trucks, ambulances, and emergency vehicles surrounded the aircraft, flashing lights painting the windows red and blue. Inside the cockpit, Lily sat frozen in the captain's seat, breathing hard, tears streaming down her cheeks. She looked at the instrument panel one last time, then whispered softly, Dad, I did it. Her mother rushed in, wrapping her arms around her daughter, crying into her hair. You saved us, baby. You saved everyone. That night, the story spread across every news channel in America. 11-year-old girl lands passenger plane, 211 lives saved. Airlines, pilots, and even the president called her a national hero. But when a reporter asked Lily how she stayed calm through it all, she simply smiled and said, My dad always told me, the sky isn't scary. It just needs someone brave enough to fly.